to today Kelly with Work With Your Handz, and we also have Janet, the manager of the Blue Collar Elite Buy program that you guys are a part of. We're coming to you guys live because I believe today will be super valuable for you as we understand who Kelly is, what is her background, and a little bit about what her company does. And to be clear, you're going to pick up some recruiting and hiring nuggets. So Kelly, good to have you on with us today. I appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So Kelly, why don't you do me a favor to our audience and to our members? Tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and what you guys do today.
So I'm Kelly Rowlett Pressgrave. I own Work With Your Handz. We do skilled recruiting for skilled trades. So that means that we are looking for skilled tradespeople. We do search for management and office staff as well. Our main niche is residential service. So we do help commercial service companies as well, but we're really niched down into residential service. Most of our core clients are plumbing, heating, and electrical contractors. Got started because my husband actually owns a residential service company here in Northern Virginia. They do all three trades. So we've been together for a very, very long time. I won't date myself, but just been with him for a long time, know the industry really well, and absolutely love recruiting in this industry.
Awesome. And Kelly, really quick, before we get started, I want to make sure everybody understands this is a value build because, Kelly and I and Janet, we were just talking about this industry as a whole and how awesome this industry is. So if you're in this industry today, I always say to people, there's only two ways you got into it. Either you chose it, you said, hey, I'm going to go BA and get into the industry, or it chose you. Now, I actually got chose by the industry. I needed a job, Kelly. And I remember that now I'm going to date myself. It's 28 years ago when I got into the industry. And I'll never forget my very first job. You almost had to fight to get a job in the industry. And this is back in the mid to late 90s, where you could put an application online. There'd be a mile long line of people wanting to come to work. But things have changed, right, Kelly? Like what are some things that you feel like have changed? And I'm going to call the acquisition of talent world. What are some things you feel like have evolved?
So if we go way back to the beginning of when I started dating my husband, which was 1990, you will look at you'll look at the avatar of that technician at that time. They were very much the generalization of what the stigma of the disheveled plumber, if you will, someone who's not quite kept. Maybe they just weren't super professional, whatever the case may be. Everyone has in their mind what that person looked like. Now, today, fast forward, it is a profession. It is very much something where it's I mean, you're proud of it. You're proud of what you do. It's a career. People are making, I mean, it's not unheard of for a plumber to bring in $250,000 a year or more. And that's not working 80 hours a week. It's probably working a little over 40, but the opportunity is there, and it's just a totally different mind. It's a mind shift. It's the whole profession being upgraded. So that's what we've seen over time. Over the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, the before pandemic, we saw it was hard to find skilled trades labor. It's hard to find, plumbers, electricians, HVAC techs, but they were out there. It was hard to do. During COVID, we actually saw kind of a shift with people looking to move. So maybe their spouse could work remotely and they were all of a sudden had an opportunity to move to a different town. Maybe the political climate, they didn't like where they were, or they didn't like the actual climate. So they wanted to move somewhere warm, like all the different things. There was just it was a lot of activity with people moving around. And so we saw an active client kind of uptick during COVID, which is counterintuitive to the rest of the world because you didn't necessarily see that across like a white collar profession. But now post pandemic, it's back to probably more like pre-pandemic, where that active candidate, there's not as many people applying to a job when I say active candidate. So there's not people out there going to Indeed and looking to switch where they are. As recruiting, we are seeing you have to be really really intentional about your passive candidate, what you're going after, and building pipelines, the messaging that you have out to the community, that you're always looking, what you have to offer as a company. And we're just seeing kind of back to that less active candidate, more recruiting means you have to go after those people that you want.
Very, very well said, Kelly. And I agree with that. And as a previous owner, people always say things like, we're always hiring, but it's really funny, Kelly, when I ask if they're always hiring and you call their place of business to test the line to see what happens when you call in, and you realize they're not really actively hiring. It's just more of a reactive. So Kelly, maybe we could jump in a little bit more about that. And I agree wholeheartedly. It kind of ebbs and flows, right? With recruiting and demand. And so leveling that out for myself of knowing when to recruit and when to hire, I go back to people say, well, where's all the talent? And I always say the talent's already working somewhere. They don't have a problem getting a job, right? That's not a challenge for them. In many cases, I'm guessing, Kelly, if somebody were to quit a job today, if I was a plumber, electrician, HVAC, and I quit today, I bet I'd have a job within 24 hours and ready to start, wouldn't I?
You'll have multiple offers.
Yeah. And it almost becomes like, so Kelly, this is a question I'm curious about. How do you feel like that's changed the landscape, not just for the business, but for the candidate now? Like, what's the feeling and the like the tone around, I'm a plumber. Do you find that typically they know how valuable they are, and it's almost like they're like a good stock that people want to buy, so it's a high price? Is that kind of what's going on now?
Yeah, I would say there's two for me, I would point out two things. I would say if you are a plumber or HVAC tech or whatever, you're the best of the best. You're a comfort consultant that's going to knock it out of the park. You have the numbers to prove it. You're a great plumber. The process. You know how to build a rapport with. Your value. Stay humble. Because there's always more to learn. And even if you're the best at your trade, you stay intellectually curious and you want to continue to learn. That makes you even more valuable, because then you come into it with that coachability and that like eagerness, and it just raises your stock even more. So that would be my message to anybody who is out on the market looking. And then for companies who want that talent, it's not $1 more anymore, $1 or $2 even. It's your culture. So you have to be really intentional about what you do in the office and how you bring people together, and the collaboration across department lines. And all those things are really, really important. So having a one-on-ones with your technicians and having that messaging that you see what their contribution is and you recognize the value, and just pouring resources into them, that resonates. And technicians talk. They talk at supply houses. They talk at, whether it's in their community or whatever, they know. And so no longer, it's not the $1 more. It's really what you can offer to them, whether it's work-life balance or that kind of sense of brotherhood.
And Kelly, you are speaking my language right now. We teach, talk, believe there's 4 keys to recruiting and retaining top talent. Number 1 is compensation to include benefits, which means you got to pay well. Doesn't mean you got to pay the most, but the second one is what you just said, which is culture. And I say this all the time. You can never outpay your culture. You just can't outpay it. Like if you have a really, really bad culture, at some point, there's no amount of dollar that I would be willing to trade for that result. So that's magical for me. So let me do this, Kelly. Help me, because here's what I hear people say all the time: recruiting and hiring. They call it recruiting and hiring. They kind of jam them together like a sandwich, right? You got to have them both together. But help me dissect, Kelly, when you use the word hiring, how can you help me identify gaps in my hiring process?
I would say what we see is it's unique. Every company out there is unique. You can be doing the same thing as your company next door. You can have competition, and that hiring process, In this industry, you need to be fast. So identify the process, put your SOPs in place, and then stick to it. But it needs to be quick because just like you said, if you're a plumber and you're out there, you're gonna have multiple offers within 24 hours. You want to grab that talent, you want to get them through the process. There are a lot of people that want to do ride-alongs, and I think that's okay. Like applaud that having that step in there to make sure someone is really because for the candidate, it's an interview process as well. Is this going to work for me? And the ride along is not just for the company. So I think a ride along can fit in with the process pretty well as long as it's done quickly. So
Mhm.
get the person in. Don't make, for me, what we see is when we're interviewing on the phone screen, then there's another phone screen, then they have to get into the office interview, then the ride along is a week later, and then the offer. I mean, just don't drag it out because
Mhm.
you can't drag it out. So be mindful of what it's like being in the candidate's shoes when they're getting bombarded with messaging from other companies that are going to hire them without all of that. They're just going to make an offer.
So this is what I believe, Kelly, and that is recruiting is the process of attracting team members. So it's just like marketing for customers.
Yep.
And a lot of times we think like, okay, we got to make it easy for our customers to do business with us. And yet when we go to recruiting, we make it hard for that customer to do business with us, which is our team member, right? That internal customer, to your point, making them jump through all the hoops. And I get that, Kelly. I'm going to ask, there's an old saying, be slow to hire and quick to fire. I understand the logic behind that, but do you think things have changed as it relates to that to our industry now?
Oh, yes. I would 100% agree. I think there's still that mindset out there though, of and it really you can't survive on that model.
Mhm.
So it's, if you're a really small company, it takes resources to bring somebody on. So we can sit here and say this, but at the same time, when I talk with clients, I'm mindful, if you're really small, it's harder to be that quick and pour resources into somebody, but you got to find a way to try and do it and trust your judgment. And if they don't work out, that's okay. But you're going to lose talent if you don't find a way to make
Mhm.
it work. So bigger companies it's a little easier if you're a mid-sized to larger company to take a risk on someone.
Okay, and so Kelly, this brings up a fabulous point. Tell me how Work With Your Handz can come alongside of me and my business that helps me, whether I'm a large company or I'm a smaller company. Like, tell me a little bit about how you guys can help in that process.
So on the smaller company side, I would say, and even for a larger company, what we see, it's amazing to me how many owners do the recruiting. Um, and they wear so many hats already. You want to be growing your business and you're looking on Indeed for resumes. Like it is it's mind-boggling, but it happens, and it happens at some really big companies.
Mhm.
So I would say, let us take that burden and let us do that really time consuming work. That's where we can really help is it's the passive candidates that you want to try and grab from other companies. And, it is just what people do. I mean, I don't want to say that everyone, poaching is a dirty word, but at the same time, it's not, because it's the landscape of the nature of what we have to do because there's not enough technicians out there.
I,
So
so I say this, Kelly, all's fair in love and war and recruiting.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And so, we're putting opportunities in front of people to say, this is a great opportunity. Do you want to hear more about it?
Mhm.
So that's a time consuming effort to build those pipelines, to build those benches, to go out and find all those resumes, to do all that work. So if you are really looking to grow and scale, let us take that time off your plate and do it for you. We're phone screening everybody. We're having a really solid onboard process. So we're going to find out what your culture is like, what the ideal avatar is for your specific company. So we're going to weed out somebody that we don't think would work for your company. So all those things we're vetting out for soft skills. You might see somebody looks great on Indeed, their resume is stellar, but then you are on the phone with them and they're cursing, or they're saying every problem in their life is because of their past employer, or they have like, there's just something about them. I could go on and on about the things that we screen out for, but I think that's what we can help with the most, is that time consuming effort of getting people in the door for you.
And you guys are also, I'm aware of this. There's some of our clients that you guys have helped not just hire frontline team members, but you guys don't. So if I'm looking for, what positions do you not recruit and hire for? Let's
We
start there.
hire for everything in the residential service ecosystem.
So
So,
general manager.
oh yeah, general
Okay.
managers, operation managers, VP of strategic operations. I mean, you name it, some really high level roles when people are trying to really grow and expand with multiple locations. So really strategic roles, all the way down to, I'm going to make up a role that didn't exist ever. It's permit puller coordinator of, whatever. So there's all kinds of unique combinations of roles that people have when they're building out their companies. So we love it when someone comes up with something brand new.
So then, Kelly, you guys really more of it. So there is the off the shelf stuff that you do, right? But then more and I love what I'm hearing, which is you work with the individual company specifically around their needs. You tailor everything around their culture. So really, if I'm hearing you correctly, Kelly, you and your team are just an extension of the business.
100,000,000%. You got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So last question regarding this, Kelly, and thank you so much for your time. And for those that are watching this recording or you're watching this live right now, thank you guys so much. I hope you're picking up some nuggets as Kelly's been dropping tons of value here for you. Like, what is the optimal time to start looking for a position when I need them?
To get the person that you want, I would say give yourself 3 months. And I know that sounds like a long time, but sometimes it can happen a lot quicker. Sometimes to find somebody who is experienced, has the numbers you want, is plug and play, and can make a difference on your team, you want to give yourself the opportunity to find that right person. So if you're just like, I got to find them and I'm going to hire whoever comes on my plate in the next 2 weeks, you're not doing yourself the service. Like, give yourself some time to find the right person. And not saying that it doesn't happen faster than that in some markets, but you want to be able to really give it a good search and find the right person. Really depends on the role too. So, HVAC season, you want to tee it up so that you're in line with HVAC season. If it's a leadership role, you want to be able to really make sure that that person's going to elevate your business and work well with your existing team and all those things. So hopefully that was helpful.
So then, Kelly, next question for you, because that makes total sense, right? Because most people will say slow to hire. Really, what that means is make sure this is the right candidate, right? But as soon as I know I've got the right candidate, I've got to take action on that. So, Kelly, is there anywhere in, like, what marketplace? Is there markets where you're like, hey, we don't really do small markets? Do y'all do large markets? Tell me a little bit about your geography of where you work with clients at.
I would say we have clients in all markets. There are some markets in the country that we call micro markets. And so if you're in a small town, in, middle of, I will say, I'm going to pick out somewhere, North Dakota. If you're in a really small town, then you want to dominate your town. You want to dominate your market, and we can help you. But a lot of that is guerrilla marketing on your end, like being involved in your community, going to that fall festival, giving out plungers or whatever it is, like get yard signs. Like it's dominating your market, your micro market. So not that we can't help with that, but it's a little bit different discussion when you're in those small towns and you're trying to grow, but you don't have the people in your town to have. So we can do a lot of do you want to move to, this town or whatever, but that is a different recruiting search than if you're in New York City and you need someone. So
Sure.
it's very different. It's a very different strategy, and that's a different conversation.
Okay,
So
good. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on, sharing with us some nuggets around the recruiting and hiring process, along with what you and your company do. Once again, it's Work With Your Handz. Kelly, really quick, I got a couple of questions. I love people to get to know who is actually on and who they're talking to. So I'll ask Kelly, if your life was a movie, who would you choose to play your role in that movie?
oh wow. If my life was a movie, probably Courtney Cox. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
She's my age, and so we're friends, fans. So maybe
Yep.
that.
Okay, you guys heard that. Next question, Kelly, what's your favorite song? What's the first song that comes to your mind right now?
Oh wow. Staying Alive by the Bee
Staying
Gees.
Alive. There you go. And then last, Kelly, put you right on the spot. This is the one I love. You ready? It's a simple question. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Yes or no?
Yes, it does. I love it.
Oh, okay, great, Kelly.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on today, Kelly. It's fantastic having you. Once again, folks, that's Work With Your Handz. Kelly, thank you for your time. Hope everybody found value in this video and this recording today. Thank you guys so very much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank
Thanks.
you, Janet.
Hey, I want to take an opportunity to say thank you for watching this video and subscribing. My question for you is, what are your revenue goals this year? Why don't you drop them in the comments below? And remember this, you're either winning or you're learning.